Good afternoon and welcome to Open Mic.
I'm on the road, you're still at home, doing your day-to-day. Well, I'm on my own and you're all alone, too many miles away. Through rivers and roads, cities and towns, countries and continents. But despite what it seems, the space in between us is insignificant. Oh, just like our feet where they touch on the ground, just like gravity. We lift them up and then they come back down. We'll be together wherever we may be, 'cause it makes no difference where we are, or we'll never be far apart. You can take my word, rest assured, you'll be on my mind and in my heart. On my mind, in my heart. The days in a week, the weeks in a month, and the months that turn into years. Oh, they all fly by in a blink of an eye, but they never really disappear. But we're not defined by the passing of time and all of its urgency. Well, we're bound by our love, our bones and our blood, our minds and our memories. Yeah, just like the stars up in the sky, just like the fish in the sea. Just as the moon is through the tide, I am to you, and so are you to me. 'Cause it makes no difference where we are, we'll never be far apart. You can take my word, rest assured, you'll be on my mind and in my heart. On my mind and in my heart. Take my word, rest assured, you'll be on my mind and in my heart. It makes no difference where we are, we'll never be far apart. You can take my word, you can rest assured, you'll be on my mind and in my heart. On my mind, in my heart. I want you on my mind, I got you in my heart. On my mind and in my heart. On my mind and in my heart. Always. Baby. On my mind and in my heart. On my mind and in my heart. I keep you on my mind and in my heart.
Good afternoon and welcome to Open Mic. We just heard the title track from Mr. Jesse D's new album, On My Mind and in My Heart, and I'm pleased to have on the phone with me Jesse D. Jesse, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me. My pleasure.
Absolutely. Sounds good. So, fantastic new CD you put out, released just February of this year, and you recently got picked up by Alligator Records. Is that correct?
That's correct.
How did that all come to pass?
We made a record, and we're looking for ways to release it into the world. And I believe we had sent one over to Bruce Iglar over at Alligator Records. And long story short, he flew to Boston to check us out in a live setting, and was nice to offer to put the record out. And I'm grateful to be working with the folks over at Alligator Records.
It's a fantastic new record that you put out. Kind of a little bit of R&B, some bluesy kind of stuff in there, some beautiful vocals, some great harmonies and layers of instruments. You want to tell us a little bit about the band?
Sure. The band is made up of my regular cast of characters who kind of play in my touring band, and then in some regards we kind of brought in some ringers here and there for certain parts of certain songs, and ultimately I am quite lucky to be playing with the folks that I do, and it's exciting for me to when you have an idea or you have a song, and it's fun watching it kind of go to the next level when you have talented musicians surrounding you.
Now, your last album, entitled Bittersweet Batch, was put out in 2008. You got the same lineup, same guys on the record here?
For the most part, it's kind of the same core guys, give or take a few, and then some few folks that weren't on the last one as well.
What do you find different?
But it's the same. Worked with the same engineer, same producer as the first one.
What do you think is different for you guys on this record versus the last one?
Ultimately, I think it is just better, and I think that comes from, it starts from the songs, and the arrangements are better, and I think the playing is better. I feel like my performances are better, and I think it's just from touring essentially for 5 years since that last record was released. I think we kind of branched out a little bit sonically here and there, but it's still kind of rooted in a lot of the same core ideals as we started with on the first one.
You had just mentioned touring, and I kind of look in some of your media notes there. And you guys have done a lot of touring. You've even done European tours and things like that. You play with some pretty big names out there. Anybody that kind of pops in your head as a band that you played with that really maybe changed the way you look at music, changed the way you look at playing live music? Some of the bands that you played with that really made a difference to you guys?
That changed the way that I look at live music. That's a very good question. It's a very specific question too. We've had so many amazing opportunities to play with some bands and artists who I think had such a large influence on me before we ever played with them. But yeah, certain people stand out. We've done a lot of touring with a guy named James Hunter, who's a British R&B artist over the past couple of years, and he consistently just blows me away every time. We've done probably at least 40 shows with him, and it doesn't get old. Every night, it's just tremendous. I'm trying to think of a good example that really pinpoints your question. I think essentially, a lot of watching artists or having the opportunity to play with artists that I admire. I'm really trying to just take in as much as I can. So yeah, it's a lot of just watching the details of how people perform. We've had the opportunity to play with guys like Al Green and stuff like that, which is just, it sometimes seems a little bit silly, even just saying that. But Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings, I think, are one of the best live acts out there today that I've had the opportunity to play with. And I guess you can have an idea of what live music is in your head, or the possibilities of live music, but when you see someone push those boundaries, it can change the way you think about live music.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and listen to another track off your album. I'm speaking today with Mr. Jesse D. We're listening to songs from his new album entitled On My Mind and In My Heart. The next track we're going to hear is entitled I Won't Forget About You. Jesse, any words on this tune?
Yeah, this is, I guess this is probably one of the more Motown-y feeling numbers on the record, for lack of a better description. And it's just kind of a fun, bouncing feel to this song.
Fabulous. Well, this is I Won't Forget About You right here on Open Mic, and this is Mr. Jesse D.
You're not the words I have been thinking that I wanted to say. Not that childhood memory that's slowly slipped away. You're not my username, not my password. You're one of those websites, not that crazy scene and crazy dream I think that I had last night. Yeah, it ain't you, baby. You're not the big old pile of bills that I haven't paid. Not that telephone call I said that I made, that I never made. You're not the super simple set of directions I thought I knew by my heart. Not the parking spot in the parking lot where I went and parked my car. That just ain't you, baby. That's not what you are. Hey, it don't matter what you say, yeah. No matter what I do, honey, come with me. But don't you worry, no, I won't forget about you. I won't do it, no, I won't forget about you. You're not the proper pronunciation that always comes out wrong. Not the you're not the words to this song, no. You're not the conversation I can't remember that I think I thought that I could. And not the fact that we all cry and complain. But most of us people, we got it pretty good. Yes, we do, babe. Hey, yes, we do. Hey, it don't matter what you say, yeah. No matter what I do. Honey, come what may. But don't you worry, no, I won't forget about you. Oh, I won't do it, no, yeah. I won't forget about you. No, 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 no. I couldn't do it if I tried. Well, hey, I won't forget about you.
And we're back. Jesse, I wanted to ask you a couple things. Tell us a little bit about your musical history. When did you start playing and singing, and maybe some of your influences?
I started singing when I was a pretty young kid. I started singing in church, and I grew up singing in kind of grade school theater productions and choruses. And I guess I started trying to write my own songs when I was a teenager, and ended up picking up the guitar probably when I was around 18, and I've been trying to figure the thing out ever since. I think I grew up in Boston, and I went to school in Boston, and I kind of immersed myself in the local music scene in Boston and started performing solo at open mics, and I did a lot of busking, performing out on the streets and in the subways. and that kind of really kind of cut my teeth and honed my chops as a musician. I played with, sang with, various local Boston bands, and just been trying to get better at being a performer and being a songwriter, and I think more importantly, having fun in that process.
Now, did you grow up in a musical family? I know a lot of people who are musicians really were influenced by their parents, kind of what they listened to as a kid growing up, what they heard in the background, and then, later on in their life, they're like, oh man, that was some really good music, or sometimes it was even like, oh man, that music was bad, I'm going to go the other direction, or whatever like that.
Right. I've been very lucky to be in a musical family, and my parents have certainly supported me for many years in that regard. My father is a guitar player and a singer, and I was able to pick up some tidbits along the way from him. He was kind of a Beatles guy, so I heard a lot of Beatles and Rolling Stones, Van Morrison from him. I think I first fell in love with older R&B music from the radio, and that was when I was around 8 years old, and it was the local oldie station, so it was playing a lot of older doo-wop, R&B, 50s pop, and that kind of planted the seed for me within the genre of, say, this record that I just put out. But yeah, certainly my father was an inspiration, and my family has been a support musically and non-musically.
Let's go and listen to another track off your CD. The track we're going to hear is No Matter Where I Am. This is Jesse D off his new CD entitled On My Mind and In My Heart, right here on Open Mic on 89.9 FM, KGPR, Great Falls.
Call on me. You might find in these troubling times I can be the thing you need. So when you're all alone, I will be your friend. And when you're feeling sick and low down, I'll be your medicine. Baby, I'll be true. And when everything all around you starts to feel like it's coming undone, I'll be your super glue. So when you feeling trapped and the air gets thin, just take a deep breath, don't you forget. can't see. When this crazy world gets so confusing, I'll be your clarity. Well, if you don't need my helping hand, darling, I will let you be. Yeah, and I understand. Oh, but when trouble is getting near, you don't have to worry, darling, don't you fear. You can count on me. I'll be there. You can call on me. I'll come running, no matter where I am. Hey, you can count on me. Call on me. Yes, you can. Count on me. Call on me. No matter where I am.
And Jesse, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your songwriting process. Some of the songs in this new album definitely had some, I don't know, pretty intense orchestration on there. You got many different, you got horns in there and everything else. How do you go about writing these tunes? Do you do lyrics first and then the music comes out afterwards, or is it vice versa? Or how does that work out for you guys?
I don't have a set process that I incorporate for every song. Sometimes these songs kind of take on a life of their own. So sometimes, I'll have a progression and I'll be writing lyrics to the progression, or I will have a melody in my head and I'll try to set music to the melody. And sometimes I'll just have say like a general concept of what a song could function as or what it could become. But I feel like more times than not, it starts with a melody in my head, and that comes just from singing to myself while I'm going about my day doing this or that. And, so to answer your question, I don't have a set process, but more times than not, it will start with a melody.
Sure. Now you're traveling around right now with a pretty good-sized band. Do you ever do like smaller gigs, kind of scale it down to, just yourself on guitar or trio or duo or quartet, anything like that?
Oh yeah, all the time. I started off, like I said, playing solo, and I still do that, and I enjoy that. More times than not, I have the band, and I would say that it tends to grow smaller in size the further away from home we get, just because of challenges in supporting that many people out on the road, and financially and so on and so forth. But there's usually I don't know. I can. It's nice to kind of have both together. They kind of each make me appreciate the other, playing solo versus with the band. And sometimes it can be good for supporting other acts traveling further away or overseas. I've done a lot solo, and then I'll usually come back with a band after that.
I know, definitely. You got a lot of power in this band that you're with right now, and a lot of fabulous energy behind you going on there. Do you sometimes find it hard to bring that energy to smaller shows, or is that something that you just kind of always bring with you no matter what scenario you're in?
Yeah, the energy that gets put out at a show is not relative to the venue or the amount of people in the audience. And I'm performing and putting out energy first and foremost because I love what I do, and that needs to ideally that can translate to the crowd that's there, or to the crowd that isn't there. And
now you guys are on the road right now. You're playing some shows up in the Northeast, Illinois, Ohio. I've seen on your list. Are you planning on being on the road for a long time? What do you have lined up? I know this is a new record, and a lot of times, a lot of bands you probably already have songs maybe in the works for your next album. What's your plans for the future?
Well, Well, my plans are to just be able to keep doing this. This is something that I love, and I want to just be able to keep making music and keep performing it. So yeah, we have there's a number of songs that never really made the cut onto this record, and certainly thinking about the opportunity to record another one. And in a lot of ways, I think just being a musician and touring is really just like a way of life. So I'm just gonna keep playing as long as I can.
Yeah, you've been playing for many years now, and I imagine that you have quite a repertoire of your own songs kind of hidden there in the back and in notebooks and stuff like that. Do you find yourself going back and listening to tunes that you created, maybe even years ago, and then you're like, hey, maybe this is a better time to bring them forward now, kind of rework them a little bit, and then bring them something new out of them?
Oh, sure, yeah. And I mean, all the time. And I mean, there's so many ideas that I have that are halfway done or 3/4 of the way done, that sometimes it helps to take a step back and come back and revisit something later on. But yeah, that's very much the case.
We got time for one more song here on Open Mic, but before we get to that last song, you want to tell us a little bit about some information, where we can reach you on the website, or some touring information, some upcoming shows, things like that?
Sure, you can find out all the tour dates at jessed.com, JESSEDEE.com. And the record came out, like you said, in February, and it is something we're very proud of, and we encourage you to check it out for yourself. It is available at your local record store, iTunes, Amazon, wherever music is sold, and I encourage you to take a deeper listen should you wish to.
Well, it is a fabulous album, and a real joy listening to it. I got to tell you, it's a very uplifting, fun, just a very enjoyable CD that you guys produce. So, I guess thanks, man. It's a real treat to have positive, fun music out there to listen to. It's not always the case, but you guys did a fabulous job. Jesse, I wanted to say thank you so much for taking your time to be with us on Open Mic today. Really appreciate it.
Well, I thank you so much for having me, and I'm glad all of those feelings translate to you. And we hope you have a nice weekend.
All right,
thanks very much.
Thanks, man. Thanks for the music. Good luck out there, and give us a call next time you're through the Montana area.
Okay, will do.
All right, man. We're going to go out with Mr. Jesse D. This is coming off his latest CD, On My Mind, In My Heart. The name of this track is Tell Me Before It's Too Late, right here on Open Mic on 89.9 FM, KGPR, Great Falls.
Lately I've noticed you've been acting kind of strange, and your disposition just increases with the passing of each day. But when I stop and ask you, darling, what is wrong, you just shake your head, shrug both your shoulders, and you say nothing's wrong at all. But I don't believe you, baby. Go ahead and tell me what's on your mind. I'm tired of watching you trying to hide that something isn't right. It only gets worse the longer you wait. So tell me before it's too late. quiet, oh, your troubles will disappear. But problems only seem just to escalate when you pretend they aren't there. So stop pretending, baby. Go ahead and tell me what's on your mind. I'm tired of watching you trying to hide it. Something isn't right. Now it only gets worse the longer you wait. So tell me what's on your mind. I'm tired of watching you try to hide that. Something isn't right. It only gets worse the longer you wait. I can see in your eyes the pain you have inside. So tell me before it's too late. Tell me before it's too late.
Welcome back to Public Radio 89.9 FM KGPR Great Falls. My name's Tom, and I'm here to ask you for your support for Public Radio, for Montana Public Radio, by going to the phone 1-800-325-1565 or mtpr.org. Show your support for Open Mic, our locally produced program, hosted by Mr. T.C. Hirsch, but definitely we've had other guest hosts in there. We've covered music from bands like Foghat to James McMurtry, and even local bands, Jenny Flemings from Bozeman, Chris Hillman, Dan Kaplan, again, Molasses Creek, Waylon Jennings, Keith and Renee, Ashley Caldwell, Hank Williams III has been on the program. Bands like Go By Train from Seattle, Life in a Blender, Buffalo Stone, Kelly Ritchie, some of the great programs, some of the great artists that you may or not have heard of, may have not have heard of. We'd like to think that this is one program you like. If you're listening, that's because you like the program. 1-800-325-1565 or safely and securely on the World Wide Web at mtpr.org. And thank you.
Hi, my name is Paige. I work at Starbucks.